This video is about she took her kids to the ski resort and a millionaire held the door for her. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The crisp mountain air wrapped around Sophie Parker like a cool, invigorating blanket as she stepped out of her SUV, her children tumbling out behind her. Laughter echoed as 10-year-old Lily and 7-year-old Max raced each other to the entrance of the ski resort. Sophie watched them, a warm smile creeping onto her face. This trip was a much-needed escape. "Mom, look at the snow!" Max shouted, his little hands already clutching his blue ski helmet. His eyes sparkled with excitement, a reminder of the joy that simple pleasures could bring. "Yes, buddy, it's beautiful," Sophie replied, her heart swelling with affection. The world was a chaotic mess, but here, surrounded by snow-dusted pines and the promise of adventure, everything felt possible. Her phone vibrated in her pocket, drawing her attention. It was a text from her ex, Jamie. Asterisk, "Don't forget to send me pictures of the kids. Make sure they're safe." Asterisk. A small sigh escaped her lips. It had been 6 months since their separation, but Jamie's overprotectiveness still grated on her nerves. They had argued enough about the kids' safety before the trip, and she didn't want to dwell on it now. "Mom, hurry up," Lily called, her cheeks flushed pink from the cold. Sophie shook off her thoughts and joined her children, the hotel lobby a swirl of activity. The warmth enveloped her as they entered, making the chill outside feel like a distant memory. Wood-paneled walls adorned with photographs of skiers from decades past created a nostalgic ambience. "Let's get our gear," she said, her voice brimming with enthusiasm, trying to match her children's energy. As they approached the rental counter, Sophie's attention drifted to a figure standing just a few paces away. He was tall, with an athletic build, adorned in a sleek black ski jacket that accentuated his broad shoulders. His dark hair was tousled, and his deep-set blue eyes caught hers for a moment, sending a flutter through her heart. "Mom, can we get the really cool skis?" Max interrupted her thoughts, tugging at her sleeve. "Sure, sweetie, let us see what they have," she replied, shaking off the sudden flutter. After securing their gear, they stepped outside to a scene that looked like it belonged on a postcard. The sun gleamed off the pristine white snow, and the sound of laughter and excitement filled the air. "Mom, watch this!" Max shouted, taking off down a gentle slope, his small frame wobbling as he navigated the snow. Sophie felt a sense of pride watching her children embrace their joy. She turned to Lily, who was putting on her skis with an exaggerated concentration. "Do you think you'll be able to keep up with your brother?" Sophie teased, giving her daughter a playful wink. "I'll show him I am going to be the fastest skier ever," Lily declared, determination shining in her eyes. With a laugh, Sophie watched as they both raced down the slope, their shouts of happiness echoing in the air. It was moments like these that made the struggles of single motherhood worthwhile. As she took a deep breath, savoring the moment, the tall stranger from earlier appeared beside her, holding the door to the lodge open. "I need a hand with anything?" he asked with a charming smile, revealing a set of perfectly aligned teeth. "No, I am okay, just enjoying the view," Sophie replied, her heartbeat quickening at his proximity. "I am Nathan," he introduced himself, extending a hand. "Sophie," she said, shaking his hand, feeling a rush of warmth at his firm grip. There was something magnetic about him, an aura that drew her in. "Your kids seem to be having a blast," he observed, nodding towards Max and Lily as they skied down the slope. "They love it, their first time on the mountain," she replied, pride swelling in her chest. "How about you? Are you here for the season?" "Just for a weekend getaway, business meeting, and then some fun on the slopes," he explained, his gaze lingering on her for a moment longer than necessary. "Must be nice to mix business with pleasure," Sophie said lightly, teasingly nudging him with her shoulder. "It is," he chuckled, his laughter warm and inviting. "But truth be told, I am just here for the skiing. It helps me unwind." Sophie could see the genuine passion in his eyes, the way they reflected the beauty around them. She found herself drawn in, leaning slightly closer, lost in the moment. "Maybe you can show me a few tricks?" she asked, surprising herself with her audacity. "I'd be happy to," Nathan replied, his smile widening as he took in her playful challenge. "But I should warn you, I might show off a little." "Is that so? I'll have to keep up then," she shot back, her heart racing. She felt the tension build, a mix of excitement and the thrill of flirtation. "Challenge accepted," he said, his eyes sparkling with mischief. Before Sophie could respond, Max came barreling towards them, his cheeks flushed and breathless. "Mom, did you see me? I went so fast," he exclaimed, his energy infectious. I did. You were amazing, she beamed at him, ruffling his hair. Lily skied up gracefully beside them, a proud grin plastered on her face. I beat him. I am the fastest skier ever. Not if I have anything to say about it. Max protested, a playful scowl on his face. Sophie watched her children argue, their competitive spirits igniting a sense of nostalgia. It reminded her of her own childhood, of simpler times spent with friends in the snow. Hey, you two, Nathan interjected, his voice smooth and soothing. How about I race you both down the slope? Really? You'll race us? Lily asked, her eyes wide with excitement. Of course, let us make it a family affair, he said, glancing at Sophie with a wink that sent a shiver down her spine. Without waiting for permission, Max and Lily grabbed Nathan's hands, pulling him towards the slopes. Sophie hesitated for a moment, her instinct screaming at her to stay cautious. It was just a friendly race, but there was something about Nathan that unnerved her in the best way. Come on, Mom. Lily called back, her voice chirping with enthusiasm. With a resigned smile, Sophie followed, caught up in the energy of her children. The three of them darted ahead, and just as she reached the top of the slope, Nathan turned back, grinning at her like he won the lottery. Ready? He asked, a playful challenge dancing in his eyes. Ready as I'll ever be. Sophie replied, adrenaline coursing through her veins. The world around her faded as they sped down the slope together, laughter filling the air, creating a moment she would cherish forever. The tension between her and Nathan lingered in the background, a sweet reminder of the unexpected connection that could blossom in the most unlikely of places. As they reached the bottom, Nathan skidded to a stop, turning to face her, his expression a mixture of playful victory and something more. Not bad for a first-timer, he teased, his breath mingling with the chilled air. Just wait until I show you my hidden talents, Sophie shot back, the flirtation bubbling just beneath the surface. But as she smiled back, she felt a pang of doubt. Was she ready to let someone new into her life, especially someone as captivating as Nathan? Could this weekend be the start of something real, or would it just be a fleeting moment of fun? The questions lingered in her mind, but for now she chose to savor the thrill of the moment, the laughter of her children, and the undeniable spark that had ignited between her and the mysterious stranger. The air was a medley of laughter and the crunching of snow under ski boots as Sophie brushed aside her doubts, throwing herself into the exhilaration of the moment. The kids were a whirlwind of excitement, urging Nathan to race them again. Can we go again, Mom? Max begged, practically bouncing on his toes, his cheeks rosy from the cold. Please, I want to beat Nathan this time. Lily chimed in, her competitive spirit shining through as she glared playfully at Nathan. All right, Sophie laughed, shaking her head at their enthusiasm. But remember, it is all in good fun, and no cheating. Nathan chuckled, hands raised in mock surrender. No cheating here, just pure skill, he teased, his eyes glinting with mischief. As they prepared for another race, Sophie felt her pulse quicken. There was an undeniable chemistry with Nathan, but she was treading carefully. It had been too soon since her separation from Jamie, and she wasn't too sure if she was ready for any emotional entanglements. On your mark, get set, go. Nathan shouted, and without hesitation, the kids darted down the slope, their laughter ringing out like music. Sophie took a moment, watching them fly with abandon, their joy infectious. Hey, Nathan called, pulling her gaze back to him. You coming, or just admiring the view? A playful smirk danced on her lips. I can do both, you know. Fair enough, but I wouldn't want to lose to you while you re-distracted, he retorted, glancing at her with a challenge in his eyes. Is that a challenge? Absolutely. Sophie felt an electric thrill at his words. They took off down the slope, the wind whipping around them. The moment was pure bliss, her worries momentarily forgotten as her laughter blended with the sounds of the surroundings. Reaching the bottom, she managed to edge ahead of both Nathan and the kids, the adrenaline surging through her veins. Whoa, Sophie, you real natural! Nathan exclaimed, his admiration genuine as he steadied himself after the abrupt stop. Thanks, just don't let it go to your head, she shot back, panting lightly but full of excitement. As they caught their breath, Sophie could feel Nathan's gaze lingering on her, studying her with an intensity that made her heart race. Something about him felt different. He wasn't just another distraction. Can I be honest? He asked, his tone suddenly serious, contrasting with the lightness of their earlier conversation. Of course, Sophie replied, curiosity piqued as she tucked a stray hair behind her ear. I've met a lot of people through my work, but there is something about you. You have this warmth that draws people in, he confessed, his eyes not leaving hers. Sophie felt a blush creeping across her cheeks. I thank you, that is really sweet. I am serious, you are doing a fantastic job with your kids too. It is inspiring, he affirmed, his sincerity making her heart swell. But as the warmth of the moment enveloped her, a small voice in her head whispered caution. She was still navigating her feelings about Jamie, and she couldn't just slip into something new, especially without knowing Nathan's world. Okay, enough about me. What about you? She asked, redirecting the conversation. What do you do for work? I run a tech company, Nathan replied, his smile fading slightly as he shifted gears. It is challenging, but it allows me the freedom to chase my passions, like skiing. His tone hinted at something deeper, and Sophie could sense a shadow crossing his expression, quickly masked by his usual charm. Sounds intense. Must be nice to have the means to escape to the mountains like this, she said, her voice softened now, sensing the weight behind his words. It is, but it can also be lonely, he admitted, his gaze dropping to the ground for a moment. Sophie felt a pang of empathy. She could relate to that feeling all too well. Yeah, I get that, she murmured, remembering the nights spent alone in her small apartment, the quiet echoing around her since Jamie left. All right, enough serious talk, ready for another round? Nathan asked, eagerness returning to his eyes. Definitely. Max shouted, gripping his ski poles tightly. With laughter echoing around them, they raced again, the thrill of competition reigniting the joy that filled the air. But as they skied, Sophie felt the shift within herself. Was she really willing to let someone like Nathan in? With the sun beginning to dip behind the mountains, casting a golden hue over the snow, they made their way to a small lodge at the base of the slopes. The cozy atmosphere welcomed them with warmth, the smell of hot cocoa and freshly baked pastries wafting through the air. Hot cocoa time, Lily declared, her eyes alight with excitement. I'll grab us a table, Nathan said, heading toward a booth with a view of the slopes. Sophie watched him go, admiring the way he effortlessly commanded attention. Mom, can I get marshmallows with mine? Max asked, his face pressed against the glass, watching the last skiers of the day. Of course, buddy, you can have whatever you want, Sophie replied, feeling a sense of ease settle over her. As they settled at the table, Sophie felt the tension from earlier dissolve. The playful banter continued, filled with jokes and laughter, with the children's voices brightening the atmosphere. Here you go. Nathan returned, balancing mugs of hot cocoa as he slid into the booth. Marshmallows on deck for Max. Awesome. Max grinned, his eyes sparkling as he took the mug. I might have indulged a little, just a few extras. Nathan winked, and Sophie couldn't help but laugh at his charm. The conversation flowed easily, and with each passing moment she found herself more drawn to him. But amidst the lightheartedness, the whispers of doubt crept back into her mind. How could she allow herself to feel this way when her heart was still mending? As they finished their drinks, Nathan leaned back, studying her intently. So, what is your story, Sophie? What made you decide to come here? Her heart skipped a beat at his genuine curiosity. She hesitated for a moment, considering how much to reveal. Honestly, moments like these are rare for me. I wanted my kids to experience something special, to create memories. And you were doing a fantastic job, he encouraged, his sincerity washing over her like a wave. Thank you, that means a lot, especially since it's just me handling it all, she admitted, her voice dipping slightly as vulnerability crept into her words. It doesn't sound easy, Nathan said, his expression softening. But you seem to manage it well. I tried, she replied, meeting his gaze. For a moment, the world around them faded, leaving just the two of them in a cocoon of warmth and understanding. But the moment was broken when Lily piped up. Can we go back out? Mom, I want to ski more. Of course, let us go. Sophie agreed, a smile returning to her face as she turned back to Nathan. Ready for another round? Always, he replied, his smile broadening. As they gathered their things, Sophie's thoughts were a tangled mess. She caught Nathan's eye, and for a brief second, the weight of what lay ahead settled between them. The ski slopes sparkled under the fading sun, and as they stepped outside together, Sophie realized that perhaps she was ready to embrace this fleeting connection. Maybe it was time to let herself feel joy, even if just for a weekend. With Nathan beside her, she pushed aside her doubts, focusing instead on the laughter and joy of her children and the unexpected possibility that lay ahead. As they made their way back to the slopes, the fading sun cast a golden hue across the snow, creating a magical backdrop for Sophie's swirling thoughts. She could feel Nathan's presence beside her, a magnetic pull that made her heart flutter, despite the lingering caution in her mind. Are you ready for me to show you how that's done? Nathan teased, nudging her playfully as they approached the lift line. Show me, please, I'll be the one showing you. Sophie shot back, her competitive spirit sparking to life. She grinned, finding comfort in their banter, even as her mind buzzed with uncertainty. As they settled into the chairlift, Sophie felt the familiar thrill of anticipation. "I hope you be prepared to eat my snow," she joked, crossing her arms defiantly. "Bring it on," Nathan laughed, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "But just so you know, I've been training for this moment." "Training, really?" Sophie raised an eyebrow, leaning slightly closer as the lift began its ascent. "What, did you have a secret skiing boot camp?" "More like a few weekends spent chasing my friends down the slopes," he replied, his laughter echoing in the brisk air. "But I can't resist a challenge, especially one as fierce as you." Their eyes locked for a moment, and an undeniable energy pulsed between them. Sophie's heart raced, and she felt the warmth in her cheeks, wondering if Nathan felt it too. She swallowed hard, reminding herself to tread carefully. As they reached the top of the lift, Nathan hopped off with agility, holding out his hand to help her disembark. "After you, fearless leader," he said, a playful smile gracing his lips. "Thanks," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. She couldn't help but notice how his gaze lingered on her, a deep intensity that sent butterflies fluttering in her stomach. "All right, kids," Nathan called out, turning his attention back to Max and Lily, who were eagerly waiting a few feet away. "You ready to race?" "Always," Max shouted, his enthusiasm infectious. "Okay, but remember, no crying if you lose," Nathan called back with a grin. Lily puffed up her chest and replied, "I want to lose." As they took their positions at the top of the slope, Sophie felt a mix of pride and protectiveness. "Just stay in control, both of you," she reminded, her motherly instincts kicking in. "And don't go too fast." "Mom, we can handle it," Lily protested, rolling her eyes in mock exasperation. "Kids these days," Nathan chuckled, stepping beside Sophie. "I remember when I thought I was invincible too." "Funny how that works," Sophie murmured, glancing at him. "You do realize that you're not going to lose to them, right?" "They're young and fearless. I might just let them win to boost their confidence," he replied, his tone teasing yet sincere. Sophie felt a warmth spread through her at his words. He had a way of making everything feel light, even in the face of competition. "All right, let us do this," she cheered, her adrenaline surging. "On your mark, get set, go." Nathan shouted, and with that they were off. Sophie pushed off, feeling the exhilarating rush of the cold air against her cheeks. She navigated the slope with surprising grace, laughter bubbling up as Max and Lily zoomed past her, their shouts of delight echoing around them. But Nathan was right beside her, his strong form effortlessly gliding down the slope. "Keep up," he called, a playful challenge in his voice. "Is that a challenge?" she retorted, feeling a spark of competitive spirit ignite within her. "Absolutely," he shot back, a confident grin spread across his face. As they raced down, Sophie felt alive, the thrill of the moment washing over her like a wave. But amidst the excitement, her internal conflict simmered beneath the surface. Could she truly let herself enjoy this connection? Could she allow Nathan to break through the wall she had built around her heart? As they reached the bottom, Nathan skidded to a stop, glancing back at her, breathless and exhilarated. "Not bad for a first time, right?" "Not bad?" Sophie exclaimed. "I think I just beat you." "Just by a hair," Nathan said, his smile wide and warm, making her heart flutter. But then his expression shifted slightly, revealing a glimpse of something more serious. "You know, it is refreshing to see someone so passionate about life." Sophie felt her cheeks warm at the compliment, but doubt crept back in. "I am just trying to make the most of it," she replied, her voice softer now. "Life hasn't been easy lately." "I get that," Nathan said, his gaze softening as he studied her. "Sometimes it is hard to find the balance between responsibilities and just living." Sophie found herself drawn to the sincerity in his eyes. "Yeah, it can be tough," she admitted, her heart beating faster. "But moments like this, they make it worth it." "Exactly," he agreed, his voice dipping lower. "You be doing an amazing job." Before she could respond, Max and Lily came barreling toward them, giggling breathlessly. "Can we go again, Mom, please?" Lily begged, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Of course," Sophie replied, her heart swelling at their joy. The group renewed their spirits, heading back toward the lift. As they waited in line, Sophie felt Nathan brush against her shoulder, a simple touch, but it sent a jolt of electricity through her. She stole a glance at him, and he caught her eye, a knowing smile gracing his lips. "Looks like we be forming a little ski team here," he remarked, his voice light but laced with something deeper. Sophie nodded, a smile dancing on her lips. "Only if you can keep up." "Oh, I plan on it," he replied, a glint of mischief sparkling in his eyes. Their banter continued, but as they got back on the lift, the air shifted slightly. Sophie felt the tension build, a strange mix of excitement and apprehension as they sat side by side, their knees brushing against each other. The world outside the lift blowed by, and for a moment, it was just the two of them, suspended in a bubble of unspoken possibilities. "So, what's next on your agenda after skiing?" Nathan asked, breaking the silence. Sophie considered the question. "I was thinking maybe we could check out that little cafe down the road. I heard they have great food," she suggested, her heart racing at the thought of spending more time with him. "That sounds perfect," he replied, his gaze locking onto hers. "I'd love to get to know you better." Sophie's breath hitched, and she felt a rush of warmth at his words. "Me too," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper, and just like that, the world around them faded into the background. But as their lift approached the top, the weight of her reality crashed back in, a reminder of her responsibilities and the complexities of her life. Could she really allow herself to explore this connection? As they disembarked, the sun began to set behind the mountains, casting a warm, golden light over everything. The sight was breathtaking, and for a moment the beauty of it all took her breath away. "Wow," Nathan breathed beside her, his eyes sparkling. "This place is incredible." "It really is," Sophie agreed, her heart full of conflicting emotions. "Let us make the most of it then," he said, extending a hand toward the slopes once more. Taking a deep breath, Sophie nodded, a mix of excitement and apprehension coursing through her veins. She glanced at her kids, who were laughing and planning their next run. It brought her back to the present, grounding her in the moment. "All right, let us go," she exclaimed, her spirit lifting. As they raced down the slope once more, Sophie felt the thrill of the unknown surge within her. Life was unpredictable, but for now, she would embrace the joy, the laughter, and the spark of something more with Nathan. Even if her heart was still in the process of healing, maybe, just maybe, she could allow herself to feel again, one thrilling moment at a time. With the last rays of sunlight fading beyond the peaks, Sophie felt her heart race as she and Nathan glided down the slope, the rush of cold air mingling with the warmth of their earlier conversations. She was reminded of a time when she had been carefree and spontaneous, long before the complexities of her life had taken hold. "All right, who is ready for a match?" Nathan called out, his voice carrying over the wind, a playful grin lighting up his face. "Mate," Max shouted, bouncing on his skis with excitement. "Not if I can help it." Lily chimed in, her competitive spirit already ignited. Sophie chuckled, watching the two of them. Their joy was infectious, filling the air with a sense of innocence that made her forget, if only for a moment, the weight of her responsibilities. "Okay, just remember to keep it friendly," she warned, planting herself firmly at the bottom of the slope, arms crossed with a mock-serious expression. "Oh, come on, Mom, we need to go all out," Max protested, clearly eager for a victory. "Yeah, make it exciting," Lily echoed, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Nathan stepped closer to Sophie, lowering his voice just enough so only she could hear. "I think they're ready to show us what they've got." His breath brushed against her ear, sending a shiver down her spine. She turned to him, catching the playful glint in his eye. "Are you trying to get them to gang up on me?" she teased, unable to suppress her smile. "Just trying to keep things interesting," he replied, stepping back and adjusting his gloves, an easy confidence radiating from him. "All right then," she said, resolving in that moment to embrace the thrill of the competition. "One last race before we call it a day." Lily and Max exchanged glances, their eyes alive with anticipation. "On your mark, get set, go," Nathan shouted, and they were off. Sophie pushed off with determination, her heart pounding as she maneuvered her way down the slope. The wind rushed through her hair, exhilaration coursing through her veins as she caught sight of Nathan beside her, his form fluid and graceful. "You're not getting away that easily," he shouted, playfully leaning into her as they raced side by side. "I wouldn't dream of it." Sophie laughed, her competitive spirit igniting as she leaned forward, channeling every ounce of energy into the race. They flew down the slope, but she couldn't help but steal glances at Nathan, the way he moved with such effortless prowess. He was mesmerizing, and she felt that familiar flutter in her stomach, the kind that reminded her of her youth, a time before life's complications had dulled her spark. As they reached the bottom, Nathan skidded to a stop, turning to face her, his breath coming in quick bursts. "That was close," as he exclaimed, amusement dancing in his eyes. "I think I got you this time," Sophie quipped, her heart racing not just from the physical exertion, but from the thrill of their connection. "It just barely," he replied, stepping closer again, his gaze lingering on hers. You're a formidable opponent. Flattery will get you everywhere, Sophie teased, but beneath her light-hearted banter was an undercurrent of something deeper. She felt as though they were sharing a secret, a bond forged in a matter of hours. Is that so? He countered, leaning slightly closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Then I'll have to remember that. The moment hung in the air, charged with tension. Sophie's heart raced, and for a brief second she thought about reaching out to touch him, to feel that warmth and connection more tangibly. But the reality of her situation pressed against her, a reminder of her children waiting nearby. Before she could respond, Lily and Max came barreling up, their cheeks flushed with excitement. Did you see us? Max shouted, practically bouncing on his skis. Yeah, we were awesome. Lily chimed in, her eyes sparkling with pride. Definitely awesome, Sophie affirmed, her maternal instincts kicking in. But remember, safety first, alright? Oh, Mom, we were just having fun. Max protested, his arms crossing as he frowned playfully. Yeah, you're such a buzzkill. Lily added, rolling her eyes dramatically. But Nathan stepped in, kneeling to their level with an easy smile. You two were fantastic. Just remember, the mountain is always there for a rematch. Both kids perked up, their frowns turning into grins. Really? They asked in unison, their interest piqued. Absolutely, he replied, a playful twinkle in his eye. But for now, let us grab some hot cocoa. I know a place that makes it just right. Can we put marshmallows in it? Max asked, his face lighting up. Of course, lots of marshmallows, Nathan assured him, standing and brushing off the snow. As they made their way toward the small lodge, Sophie felt a sense of comfort settling in. The kids' laughter filled the air, but Nathan's presence remained a steady heartbeat alongside her own. You know, he said, breaking the comfortable silence, it is rare to find someone who can keep up with me on the slopes. I am impressed. Sophie chuckles, a flush of pride warming her cheeks. What can I say? I've had a lot of practice chasing after my kids. Still, there is something more to it. You have this spark, he replied, his tone light yet laced with sincerity. Thanks, Sophie replied, her heart fluttering at the compliment. I suppose it comes from needing to find joy wherever I can. Their eyes met, and the moment stretched, a silent understanding passing between them. But just as quickly, the moment dissipated with the arrival of the lodge, filled with the inviting aroma of hot cocoa and baked goods. They stepped inside, the warmth wrapping around them like a cozy embrace. The lodge was rustic and charming, its wooden beams and stone fireplace exuding a sense of comfort. Let us grab a table, Nathan suggested, leading the way. As they settled into a corner booth, Sophie felt the energy shift slightly. The playful banter continued, but beneath the surface she sensed the weight of unspoken words and emotions. What is your go-to ski snack? Nathan asked, glancing at the menu. Definitely hot cocoa, the thicker, the better, she replied, her lips curving into a smile. What about you? Same here, but I am a sucker for those cinnamon rolls they have here, he said, his eyes glinting with mischief. Cinnamon rolls and hot cocoa, it sounds like a perfect combination, she mused, the thought warming her heart. As they placed their orders, the conversation flowed easily, filling the space between them. But as plates of sugary goodness arrived, Sophie felt a flicker of apprehension. She couldn't ignore the nagging doubts at the back of her mind. Was this just a holiday fling? A brief escape that would fade once they returned to their respective lives? Are you okay? Nathan asked, concern flaring in his eyes as he reached across the table, his fingers brushing against hers for a brief moment. Yeah, I am fine, just thinking, she replied, pulling back slightly. Thinking about what? He pressed gently, a soft intensity in his gaze. Sophie hesitated, searching for the right words. Just life, I guess, that can be overwhelming sometimes. I get that, he said, his expression softening. It's easy to get lost in the chaos. The conversation shifted to lighter topics, but the tension lingered, an undercurrent that neither could ignore. As they finished their snacks, Sophie felt the weight of Nathan's gaze on her, a mixture of curiosity and something deeper. Are you sure you're alright? He asked again, his voice slow and sincere. She met his eyes, feeling a rush of emotions bubbling to the surface. I am just navigating things, I suppose, she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. Life can be messy, but you don't have to shoulder it alone, you know, he said, his words hitting home. Sophie's heart raced at the implication. Did he mean that? Could she really share her burdens with someone like him? Before she could respond, Lily squealed from the other end of the table, Can we go back out now? Yeah, please. Max added, bouncing in his seat. All right, let us go. Sophie agreed, grateful for the distraction. As they made their way back to the slopes, the chill in the air invigorated her senses. The sun was sinking lower in the sky, casting a beautiful glow over the snow. "Ready for round 2? Nathan asked, a playful grin returning to his face. "Bring it on." Sophie shot back, a spark of excitement igniting within her. The children raced ahead, their laughter echoing in the crisp air while Sophie and Nathan followed closely, their chemistry palpable. As they reached the top of the slope,